Just give me one moment. All take some deep breaths to relax our nervous system, get in the present moment for okay, beautiful. We are now live on YouTube and here in Zoom land. Spotlight our lovely guest today. I'm going to add myself just to say hi to everyone. Hi, Ruby. Welcome, welcome. This is Max Marine here on the Grateful Giraffes Fireside Chat. It's been a while since hello, since I've hosted. Minling's done an incredible job the last few quarters, bringing amazing people, interviewing amazing people, holding this incredible space. She's in Italy, so we wish her a lot of pizza and pasta and just laughter, sun. And for those of us watching the live stream, I'll just share a few words about Grateful Giraffes, and then we'll jump in to this exciting conversation. So the Grateful Giraffes are a global community dedicated to elevating each other and the world at large. We come together on a weekly basis to co-create experiences that open the heart, stimulate the mind, and elevate the spirits. But we're not just a community, we're also building a global lifestyle brand rooted in gratitude, symbolized by the giraffe, and sharing ownership of this brand with this global community. We believe that together we create a very positive impact on this world, and just continue to create a future that is bright for all. So here today, who's also someone creating a future that is bright for all. I'd love to welcome Susan Brown to the show. Great to have you here, Susan.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really exciting to be here with your community.
And we're going to be talking about some really exciting topics today. How to measure true value in this age of AI and abundance. And we're going to be discussing some cutting edge technology, mostly on the software side, but I'm really excited to just jump in. And before we get into the lovely technologies and get into that discussion of AI, I'd love for the audience to hear your personal story, how it led you to this point, and then we'll jump in from there.
Yeah, sure. So I guess probably the most significant moment or day, everyone has that moment in their life where it just defines you and changes you. And for me, it was in 1983 when I met Steve Jobs. I was invited to go to the Apple sales conference with my boyfriend at the time. And he worked for Apple. He was one of the early employees there. And I got to see the 1984 commercial. I met Steve. I saw the unveiling of the Macintosh internally before it came out in 1984 to the public. And it was just a truly transformative moment for me where I went, oh my God, that's the future. I want to work for that guy. I want to work for that company. How can I be in that zone? And he said, well, go get your engineering degree. So Steve Wozniak was kind of the first honorary graduate at Berkeley for computer science, which like he started there. So I chose Berkeley and got in and got out, which was even harder. And then I got hired by Apple Computer in 1986. And I got to design Ethernet, like put it on the motherboard for the first time ever. And starting in 1991 is when it actually landed on the motherboard. My first creation was an add-in board. You actually opened the big box and added it like a graphics card. So that was pretty spectacular to see something happen in the real world so fast. Because after that, I had the insight to create wireless technology and was the co-founder of Radio Mail, the first two-way wireless solution. And that took 20 years for that to really make its way into the world. So it was just very exciting, and I feel very blessed to have just worked with some extraordinary people and what I learned the most and have now using it now is just the power of meditation, getting quiet, either meditation or I go into a sauna. And that's why I was at the Quantum Spa last weekend because I was using their cold plunge. Like that's actually what puts me in a flow state faster than anything is going into this hot cold contrast and just going into the zone. And that's when I calibrate myself to my higher self and start getting downloads in the form of win-win uh, visions of ideas or solutions. Just feels like liquid love. So,
Beautiful. So in terms of the transition from that awareness that you had, how did it lead you to, the current project you've been working
yeah, so I was actually in Südtirol, Italy in 2018 when I was in a sauna and a cold plunge. And I was just like in that zone of that eternal timeless state for probably 5 minutes. And I just heard a calling, like a very, very loud and clear thought. It was Roger that, Roger that, Roger that. I'm like, what does this even mean, So I knew I wasn't thinking it. I knew I was receiving it because I didn't even know what it meant at first. So it's a long journey, but I figured out what it meant and I just followed the tea leaves. And next thing I knew, I was just receiving a download of inventions on how to biometrically measure when anyone is in these higher states of coherent consciousness, and not just mentally, but emotionally, spiritually, and mostly through the heart. So, like when your heart, and not just heart rate variability, which is what science currently thinks is the end all be all, but rather heart power. Like, so we're biometrically, we trademark the name Soul Compass because it's not a fitness tracker, you know, it's a compass for your soul to like, when am I following my heart? When am I in a state of gratitude, or state of allowing, like low resistance, high allowance, joy, like not stressed. I'm wearing a Garmin watch, and most fitness trackers will tell me when I'm stressed. Well, how does that help me? It doesn't, right? So we wanted to create something that can give you this instant feedback on like when you're in the sweet spot, ding, 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 more of that. Oh, look, meditation worked. Oh, look, a cold plunge worked. Anything I can do to connect the dots to increase my coherency between my heart and my mind, because that is where wisdom and clarity comes from, and joy. Uh, and it's when I'm calibrated to resonate with my higher self or the divine, whatever you want to call it.
on? Yeah. So how does it work? I mean, how do you, what are you looking at to measure this data, and why hasn't it already been done?
Ah, well, first I'm going to talk about how we do it, and then it'll become more obvious why no one else is doing it.
Yeah.
Um, how, so we started off using like the Garmin because it's readily available, right? And we now have our own ring, and that's called Ring True. Um, and so this is just more affordable, and it has a higher sampling rate. And what we're sampling, the data we're sampling, is initially it's your heart information, and it's not just the beats per minute. That's the time domain, your beats per minute. HRV, heart rate variability. That's the in the this time space reality, very limited information. We're taking a much higher sampling rate, so we're getting a higher resolution. Because think about how long goosebumps last. When's the last time you actually had goosebumps when you
Right,
just
right now.
Okay, great, great. Okay, so goosebumps is truth bumps. And what's physiologically happening if you're having or when you're having goosebumps, your focus, your mind is focused, you're listening to something that is truly resonating with your soul. Your resistance, as measured by your skin conductive resistivity, your resistance is actually physically going down. Your conductivity is going up. And it's actually dramatic. To have goosebumps, it means you're just dramatically lowering your resistance and you're dramatically increasing your allowance of the truth.
Why do
And
you think they're
so
called, why do you think they're called goosebumps? Just out of
I don't
curiosity.
know. I don't know.
Interesting
Um,
animal to choose for bumps, but okay, we'll continue.
yeah, and so your skin just literally buckles, right? Because of
Right?
this huge shift, this dramatic and fast. So there's a sensor called the galvanic skin response that can actually measure goosebumps. And that would be in our future hardware in Ring True. Um, so we're currently getting a lot of information by taking the pulse wave energy, the actual energy wave of your heart beat. And that's not,
What does that mean exactly?
well, your heart beats and there's an energy wave associated
Right.
to that. And that wave, the energy of that wave, we can pick up in with light. And so, and because we're sampling at a much higher rate than any other of, there's like 431 wearables,
Sure.
or maybe, more today. And they don't, like the Aura Ring, for instance, measures
Yeah.
this 5 times while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
And you wake up and you have your readiness score. That's it. It's a sleep device.
And I think there, there may be a lag. Um, can you still hear me, Susan?
Altogether. They don't see because they're realizing that it's not really that informative. And so they're just not measuring it as much or at all. So we're focused on heart power. Like you ever heard of like an HP spectrometer? You can take any piece of matter and put it under this spectrometer, and
Mm.
it will give you the frequencies, the light, the harmonic frequencies that make up that matter. It's like a signature.
Mm.
Every piece of matter has a unique signature, and they can shine their, apparatus on any drop of matter
Mm.
and uniquely tell you what its light is. What's the frequency and the harmonics of its light that makes up that matter? Well,
Yeah.
we're kind of doing the same thing with you, but you're not just a drop of matter, just, clump, you're a living being and every moment is different. And so we're measuring a moving target. Every emotion, every thought can change your metrics.
Mhm.
So we're in real time able to measure like which way are you going? Are you going up or down in your harmonic frequencies? Are
Mm.
you rising in terms of these intangible states of joy, love, creativity, gratitude? Or are you kind of headed down into frustration, resistance, pressure, doubt, worries, and then it gets worse
Right.
after that?
Yeah.
So we envision a time when we're going to be able to even identify the emotion that you're going through and help you calibrate to improve it. That's it. Like some people just need relief. Being in a flow state is not something we ever achieve 24 by 7.
Yeah.
um, and so it's about appreciating the contrast and finding the blessings in disguise and just how to start moving, move yourself up and not go down the drain.
Right. Right. Well, it seems like, this is kind of a new data set that, hasn't really been measured at scale or in any meaningful way. And, we obviously are measuring the pulse, but we don't really have wearables that are measuring frequency and our lights, I mean, these are kind of still somewhat esoteric, ethereal
Mm-hmm.
concepts, even for me, because like I know we don't really sense reality with with our brain the way it exists,
Right.
but we clearly know when we're on a high vibration and when we feel expansive and open and loving, and then, but that, sort of precision and being able to see very specifically where am I on this, scale, how does it relate to what I'm doing? I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really, really powerful and can open, the door to a lot of applications.
Yeah, one of the most important things that we discovered in our design is to have it that you are your own baseline. Like, I will never be compared to you, Max, or anyone else. Everyone has a baseline.
Yeah.
And so we're really just defining for you what is true you. And because that is what the humanity needs, is to really start to trust themselves more. What makes my heart sing? And not like most of social media is about getting approval from others or trying to change others. And you can't even truly like give to others this essence that we're measuring. You have to first just figure it out for yourself. And then your heart overflows, and then you become of greater value to everyone else. Because you're more in when you're calibrated to true you, and maybe you're getting goosebumps, maybe not. That's kind of like the highest notes, if you will. But along the way, you just feel better, right? You feel happier and you feel more at peace, and you just trust yourself more, and you become far more impactful without trying, right? It uplifts people without words. Um, and that's a value. That's like great value. So, I can see a future where AI and robotics is really taking care of a lot of the minutia in our life. Um, and like it's even already having a huge impact as a tool for artists and designers, and but if you don't trust yourself and you don't believe in yourself, then you might feel threatened by it. It might take your job away, but you can't just, it's not going to go away. um the
Right.
record stores don't exist anymore. Okay, it's coming out, and
Yeah.
so find a way to embrace it and how to make it of greater value to you by inspiring a better version of yourself, how to use it. And I see a future where even today you may have seen, like, there's certain applications that will say made by human, as if that makes it more valuable. But humans make more mistakes. And so, but if you're in a higher state of coherency as measured by some of the things that we're creating, um, that is more valuable than AI, because AI cannot resonate with the divine. AI does not have a set point. If you're a computer, but a human can when you're in these higher states, and in that state
Right.
you get the downloads, you get all the great ideas.
Right. I think, humans uniquely are built to feel,
Hmm.
and AI will never, at least in theory, have that same emotional, spectrum that connects, us and our nervous system to a
Hmm.
larger realm, through the emotions we feel. What are some, exciting applications that you've already,
Mm.
been workshopping, and how do you see this like kind of data and insights, becoming a platform for all sorts of creative
Yeah, I mean,
applications?
we actually have identified some amazing use cases, and I'll just share a few of them. Um, Probably one of the most valuable ones will be for mental and emotional and spiritual well-being. So, for instance, let's say we have something called FlowTube, and it's a new kind of social media where there's no like button, right? Like if you just want to go to FlowTube and you're wearing one of the Soul Compasses, that's your feedback. And the content is chosen for you based on where we think you are. And the goal is to see if we can have you just go to the next level up emotionally.
Yeah.
And certain video is played, and again, there's live feedback, so we can tell if it's helping or not.
Mhm.
If you're
Right.
going down, then the content changes.
Cool.
And if you go up, we play more of that. And after a certain number of seconds or minutes, depending on the person, we can keep increasing your state measurably. And,
Mm.
and you get rewarded for improving yourself. And so does the content creator, right? So, like, instead
Yeah.
of ads, it's true value. Now, there's value in the content if it improved your state. And
Right.
that's how you like the content, is through the value measurably experienced. And so that could just like be an incredible tool for even like the harder emotions to
Mhm.
come out from and move your way up to the higher notes of
Right.
well-being.
Right. Like on this call, for example, everyone could be,
Absolutely.
measured in real time, and
Yeah.
you can kind of see how the brain and heart respond to our conversation. And then,
Right.
based on how it's improving people's, overall well-being, we could
Yep.
get rewarded, they could get rewarded
Right.
by, well, yeah, let's talk a little bit about kind of the economic model you're imagining for kind of how this whole
Yeah.
system
Okay.
can
Yeah. It's
come
pretty,
together.
pretty new. But
Yeah,
just to finish the topic real
yeah,
quick, like even now, like with your AI notes, imagine what's going to happen with Zoom notes, that it's not just like words being transcribed and AI summarizing it,
right,
but it can now tell us when anyone got goosebumps. Because then you're like, that's it. Like whatever she said or whatever he said, I got goosebumps at that moment. So that's all that
right,
matters. Like
right.
the rest of the talk could be just blah, blah, blah. Um, but like that would be, those are the solutions. Those are the yeses, right? That you want to take note of more than anything else.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the economic model is pretty profound. And I received this years ago when I first was creating the company. I knew it had tremendous value and power to just impact the world in a beautiful way. And when anything comes to you that you feel has that much potential, if you're a creator, and I've been through many lifetimes, and I know that it upsets, it's very disruptive what we're doing.
Mhm.
When you create something that's this empowering of the individual,
Yeah,
anyone who has a hold on some economic corner of the world, they don't relinquish it easily,
right.
right? So I was like, okay, I sort of having one of those divine conversations. I knew I was in the state of receiving, And I just was having a very conscious conversation, like, okay, how do I do this? This is going to require a new way of even concept of monetizing it.
Yeah.
And I heard very loud and clear that in the future, the most valuable people will be those who have more flowing through them instead of to them. So you just have to open the pipe up and let more flow through you. Don't try to be the one who like like owns it all, right?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so like in practical terms, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And I heard so if this is going to be such a valuable project, and I'm the founder and I funded most of it in the early days, and I currently own like 90% of it. Go put it all in a trust. And I did. So it's called the Mother Tree
Great.
Trust.
Great.
And the beneficiaries of the trust
Yeah.
are our players, our customers.
Right.
Like it's a real Ready Player One business game of life,
Mhm.
where life's the game, you're the joystick, mine yourself.
Yeah.
So you're the miner, the value is you. And to the degree that you can realize and self-actualize your true value, which is infinite, the more you will like receive the ownership, the
Mm.
governance of this mothership that we're creating, right? You become the co-owners, the co-pilots, and even your vote as a shareholder only counts when you're in a higher state as measured by our own technology. So we're just taking everything, to the next level, because only when you're in these higher states of resonance does your opinion even have value to others and the organization. You're in a state of love, acceptance, wisdom, clarity. If you're not in these higher states, you're coming from lack, scarcity, the
Right.
problem. You
Right.
can't see the solution. And so you don't even want to talk. You don't
Yeah.
want to vote. We even had an idea that in a Zoom call, if you're completely out of whack, the
Right.
microphone doesn't work
Right. Right. This is
because you're just bringing people down, right? So the whole economics of this, as I see it coming, Max, is this mother tree um, will be the exchange by which you quite literally convert your worthless debt-backed currency into these higher forms of currency. It's like a mechanism where we're going to have a token offering, right, at some point,
yeah. Yeah.
but it's unlike anything that anyone's ever done.
Right.
We're not every token, so shares in a company, money in a government, even tokens in most blockchain projects, they're created for nothing.
Yeah.
They're just another form of dilution.
Yeah.
Our tokens, the tokens of me, right,
Right.
that
Right.
will be created, can only be created by our customers improving themselves.
Yeah.
And the value of you improving you is what mints, we call them NF TOMs, non-fungible tokens of me. You're minting the actual tokens that become our token offering. So others can buy them from you. So it's a huge decentralized token offering
Yeah.
where only our customers can actually mint them,
Yeah.
and everyone has value.
Yeah. This is incredible. I mean, it's I don't like to use the word paradigm that often, but this is really a new paradigm for, yeah, how we think about value and just the idea that, you can kind of permission access to conversation or democracy based on someone's state of coherence. So futuristic, and then so just interesting. Um, that yeah, my mind is kind of racing ahead. Um, you can hear me, right?
There,
I
I
think
lost you for a second.
okay.
I lost you for a second.
Yeah, it's getting a little choppy, maybe just too much resistance on my end to this
No, I'm
new
surrounded by
paradigm.
trees.
That
Trees
right, trees are blocking
are
my
a good
sounds. Yeah,
interference.
right,
Yeah,
right. But I was
yeah.
just saying that, yeah, I mean, this is a really new paradigm for just how you can authenticate and how you can
Mhm.
permission based
Yeah.
on someone's states,
Yes.
which is
Right.
fascinating. I mean, it really is
Yeah.
like the
It's
ultimate
hugely
incentive.
empowering. It's extremely empowering, and um it can be challenging for some people, right? Because like even use the word democracy, it's
Yeah,
a different kind. It's we're not trying to democratize everyone. We're wanting to empower everyone
right.
because only when you're in a state of alignment, when
Yeah.
you're when you're in your you don't have to be in a flow state, but just in balance, like that's when you can see the forest through the trees. That's when you are not reactive. That's when you feel love.
Is there like a, I mean, what's kind of the scientific literature and consensus on, like these emotional states and how they're measured, and what would you say is kind of like that cutoff points, in terms of like measuring the data where you would say, okay, someone's not allowed to vote if they don't meet this standard, like, and yeah, how do you think kind of society will integrate, this framework? Big
Okay,
questions.
yeah, I'm going to answer that, and then you have a really good question from Robert.
Yeah.
About what do I mean? We're not trying to democratize everyone. Um, First, there's a couple things. You also mentioned science. We don't, science is very heady, okay? In fact, any science, and I am a scientist, I'm a physicist, engineer, right? That's the world I came from.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Whenever science or even engineering starts to get into the realm of philosophy, let alone spirit,
Mhm.
they run away.
Yeah.
Like you can't go there. It won't go there because science is about the physical. And if it gets too esoteric, like so science is will not lead us to where we're going.
No.
I use a alignment. I we use measurable flow states
Yeah.
for the wisdom. That's when we're
But if you
receiving.
if you can measure it, then
Yeah,
technically it's
yeah,
scientific, no?
right. It's science, but it's different. See, most science is also peer reviewed.
Okay.
See, science and religion wants approval and validation from each other. And when you're in your own God mode, your resonance is with your divine true self. And that's the validation that you want. Because when you're in that state, it's resonating with the true highest version of everything, everyone and everything, the trees, the birds, the bees, the
Mhm.
giraffes,
Yeah.
right? That's the ideal true self. And so that's why it's so powerful and how and why we trust it. And we won't go to like what most people think of for science for validation because they would actually rather kill this because it's not peer reviewed, right? But
But it
that's
but it could be, no? I mean, if you're
yeah,
measuring
yeah, we'll
data
get
and you're
there. It'll
and you're
get
math,
there. We believe that our project and the people who use our technology, it'll speak for itself. And we don't need to prove it. Like that's the whole point of being in your true self is you don't need to prove it to anyone else. And in fact, if you try, you tend to lose it. So it's just more about just follow your heart, get happy, get rewarded, figure it out, and your heart will overflow. And not everyone's going to like you or love you, and that's okay. Uh, you still do it anyway.
Let's
Um,
hop into Robert's question, then I want to circle
yeah,
back on
yeah.
that. So,
So most people, when you use the word democracy, you're looking for mass approval or peer review. Like what's best for the masses, the larger community, right? So like in a truly democratic system, if you're gay or lesbian, you're screwed because until the whole democracy, until you get mass approval, you don't get to be, you're not allowed, or you're not acceptable. That's just an example of how democracy is not the end all be all. And that's also used for, again, mass approval. Like a democracy is what do the masses want? And we're really going to the next level. We're going to a belief that if everyone would stop trying to get approval, let alone democratic approval from others, but really just like, what's your truth? What can you just be true to you? Okay. This is actually the number one regret of people dying is not living a life that was true to them. And so our philosophy is if everyone could figure out how to be more true to their true self, as measured, you would not only be of greater value to yourself and have a more fulfilled life, but it would actually benefit the masses. Like everyone would win in a beautiful win-win way. So we're more about empowering individually each person to know thyself and be able to follow, connect the dots between your choices in life and your thoughts and your actions, and how do you improve just yourself, and then that will overflow and the everyone wins, including nature.
okay, and Robert, if you have a follow-up question, and if anyone has follow-up questions, just drop them in the chat. We'll take them. Robert says, I think the term to democratize is available to all, regardless of their available resources. For example, to democratize psychedelics means to make available to all those. So I think we're just talking about two
Yeah.
different things. One is democracy, and then one is democratizing.
Yes.
So I think you very much want to democratize access to this platform to all, versus how is it going to affect, the democracy we live in, which measures values somewhat differently. So, okay, cool. Rob seems to resonate with that. So I do want to circle back on the science piece because, at Grateful Giraffes, one of our values is grounded spirituality, meaning how can we, bring supporting evidence to some of these traditionally more supernatural or superstitious beliefs. And obviously not everything can be measured, but in this specific situation, it actually seems like there's data to support, the claims that you're making about what state you're in, right? And so there is kind of this like interesting bridge you're creating between the cosmic and the earthly, or the spiritual and the physical. So I want to drill one level deeper. Like, why wouldn't it make sense to publish research based on your community
Mhm.
and show, hey, like when these people do this, they enter
Mhm.
that state,
Yeah.
and that state correlates with, you know, better health, better
Mhm.
emotional
Yeah.
well-being, more trust, all these things. Like I see this data that you're built, like this data set you're building as to be very,
Mhm.
beneficial to kind of the science world. Because again, science wants to test and measure to see that there's
Mhm.
consistency in the results, and therefore it becomes scientific. And not all the studies are actually, honoring kind of the
Mhm.
principles. So there's this
Right.
replication issue that we see across academia, but here there's like a really interesting opportunity to use kind of science to say, hey, look what we've uncovered in our own, unique way. So do you see
Yep.
what I'm trying
Yeah,
to
let's
get
talk
at?
about this. This is really good, Max. Um, So I was recently at a really interesting conference on consciousness and the revolution that's happening. And of course, people, including Penrose and other famous physicists, were there. And it was really fascinating for me to be there. And people that work with Joe Dispenza, so you had people from both sides of the science and spirit world, like what is consciousness, and like
Right.
really, really intense presentations,
Wow.
right? That
Yeah.
unless you're into this stuff, you're just nodding off. And it was so amazing, like the polarity that's presented. There are those who have spent their whole life that are in science who will die for this belief
Yeah.
that consciousness is in the brain. It does not exist outside of the brain. And when anyone in the audience, another profound physicist, would dare to suggest that consciousness actually is,
Yeah.
it's outside of the brain, it was almost like an epic, battle between the minds, the beliefs of,
Right.
these esteemed scientific leaders on, what's the truth, right?
Right. Right.
Like, and I was like, oh my God, kill me now. I just wanted to get out of there because, and even the people I talked to, some got very much what I was talking about, others did not. And the the reality, Max, is, and I've now been doing this for 6 years, so I've learned a lot. And what I want to just tell you from my journey of being
Yeah.
a scientist, talking to scientists, and now being almost a metaphysicist, even more that than physicist,
Yeah.
is we've decided um, we're not going to we're not going to make it our battle. It's
Okay.
not our job to like shove it down your throat and jam it into your head and convince you that we know what we're talking about, right? And you've been wrong all your life. Like that is just a wasted life, and that's what most people do. And we're just not going to do it. We're just gonna live the dream, like trust ourselves. And if you like what you hear, if you happen to hear this conversation and you resonate with it, then go for it. If you don't, guess what? I'm not going to debate it because that's how I lose my connection, is by trying to convince someone else of it who it doesn't resonate with. It's not my job, and it can actually be offensive
Mm.
to someone if I, you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to make it a political, scientific, and I'm not going to prove it. Just like you can't prove God, right? So, and every people kill each other over shit like this, because they have a different worldview. Well, yeah,
Right.
just
Right.
choose whatever you want to believe, right? And I'm not going to try to prove it, and I won't.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I would I
Mhm.
respect, how you've cultivated that view, and I can see
Yeah,
you've probably tried and not seen the right
yeah.
reaction and just decided
It
it's
it
an
doesn't
energy
it
leak,
doesn't make me happy. It doesn't make me
Right.
happy at
Right.
all. I don't
I,
have to convince anyone. Like,
right.
who doesn't want to be happy? That's
Yeah.
also selling. Who doesn't want to feel more empowered, more satisfied, more joy?
Right. Right.
Like, just that's my science.
Yeah. No,
Try it,
there's
and we have
something,
the
yeah.
evidence. It's very personal too, by the way. When you can see your own data and go, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
Like it's just the impossible odds that the metrics peaked out at the moment something happened in
Right.
my life.
Right.
Like, you don't need, you may want to run and tell everybody about it, but it's kind of like an inside joke. They can't even get it to the
Mm.
degree that you got it.
Yeah,
So
this
it's
is
it just
fascinating. It's fascinating.
it's just a new way of living without needing to convince anybody else.
Right. I mean, it's just interesting because, like Galileo or some of
Yeah.
the famous kind of like discoveries
Oh yeah.
in history, kind of reshaped how everyone looks at reality using
Hmm.
measurements and data and kind of the
Yep.
scientific process. So even though you've chosen to kind of just go inward in a way and not need to convince people,
Hmm.
I still feel
Yep.
like this is, I don't
Yep.
want to say Galileo level
Yeah,
intelligence,
it
but
is. It
there is
is.
something, revolutionary about
Yeah.
bringing visibility into your energy field moment to moment and like empowering people. So I do think this is something that should be, publicly
This is
discussed
enough.
and
I mean,
debated.
we're going to Burning Man, we're going out into the world. Like, I'm happy with whatever comes in its
Right,
own perfect
right,
timing. I
right,
don't need to shout from the rooftops and it's kind of like, how people who really believe in their religion, they get a microphone and then they like go and blast you and you're like, that's I don't really care to hear about I've got my
right, right,
it can be offensive, is what I'm trying to tell you.
right,
It's
right.
more powerful if you just let people uh, hear
Yeah, it's
about
more
it.
it's just like, yeah, like attracting
Yeah,
versus,
right.
promoting. So the different energy that is gonna
Exactly.
gonna flow to you because results are gonna show up. And then as
Right.
people realize, okay, I want to feel better, people are saying this makes me feel better, let me try it, right? So I do
Yeah,
see a more organic approach working here and more
that's right.
grassroots.
That's right.
So that's really cool. Um, so like yeah, where kind of are we today, in terms of the offering and what it enables, and what are kind of like the future milestones that we should expect. And yeah, I'd love
Well,
to.
it's really exciting times. Not just for us, but I really feel just even the planet is just going through this massive shift, like within the next year. I mean, it's happening. I can already feel it. And we already have a Soul Compass with like the Garmin watch. Like we already have customers that are minting these priceless tokens with their measurable results today. Like that
Yeah,
already exists. We're developing a new ring that is just far more affordable, and people can actually go on our wait list to get it when it comes out. And we don't call it revolutionary because there's some resistance in a revolution. We're just
yeah,
calling it like
yeah,
the evolutionary smarter ring,
yeah.
right? If you go to the Aura website, it says the revolutionary ring, right? Like, yeah, okay, we're the evolutionary smarter ring, right? Like, how do you evolve? So that's why we're not on a crash course, right? We're not in a rush. We're just taking our sweet time and divine time to share this with the world, and as people discover it and like buy it or not, I don't care, it doesn't matter to me, because I want everyone to just like only choose it if it resonates with you. um, so with in less than a year's time, we'll have our token offering, and it'll be our customers who are actually receiving the economic benefit of their self-improvement,
Mhm.
for the creation of the tokens. So it's very exciting times for all of us. And as I told you, we're on our way to Burning Man, where we're just gonna really, in a beautiful way, share these delicious drinks in the desert, and invite people in to discover what we're doing.
Yeah,
And then we're hosting the first ever Phoenix Rising
yeah,
in September. So, because what happens after burn the false man? Burning Man's been going on for 40 years. Okay,
yeah.
it's time for the phoenix now to rise, and that's what I see happening in the very near future. The true phoenix of humanity, like, is now rising to its potential, because now we have the technology to measure it.
And what do you see about like the privacy implications if, you can measure someone's
Mhm.
vibration, and
Yeah, sure.
you know, sort of block them from accessing certain things or allowing them to access certain things based on their emotional state. Like we could say, hey, part of the Grateful Giraffes admission process is now, submit your ring true data for the last 6 months. And if you didn't have a certain, you
Mhm.
know, like measurements, you
Yeah,
can't get in. It seems like it can
right.
be very
Okay, so
discriminatory.
yeah, sure, sure. Described like that, it sure doesn't sound very good. And that's actually more of like a social credit application, and we
Yeah.
think of ourselves as, or you sometimes when I talk about my project, people say, "Oh, that sounds like Black Mirror," and I said, "No, it's White Mirror," uh, because in like Black Mirror and the describe and what you just described, it's used against you.
Right.
Uh, and I envision the an application that goes like this. Like let's say someone like Taylor Swift who's having these sellout crowds, how does she sell tickets on her next tour? Well, she doesn't just want to keep increasing the
Mhm.
price. And then it's way beyond, the little kids who love her the most affording it.
Right.
Um, how about you go to FlowTube and watch the promo video of her next tour, and you're wearing a Soul Compass. And if you get goosebumps, if it like you resonate with that content, the
Yeah.
ticket is gifted to you. Like you don't pay for it. Maybe you do, but
Yeah.
just it gets unlocked. Maybe it's discounted. It doesn't have to be free. It
Right.
just the fact that you get priority access
Mhm.
for not because you performed well, not because you were a good girl,
Yeah.
not Santa Claus is going to bring you presents. That's central control. That's social media. That's control.
Yeah.
This is more about, win-win.
Yeah.
Like, because let's say you hate Taylor Swift
Right.
and you actually get turned off when you watch this promo video. Well, you don't
Right.
even want the ticket anyway.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want you there anyway. But so it's really more about like, you don't want people to watch even Grateful Giraffes unless it turns them on. It could be torture if this conversation is threatening to somebody.
Right. Right. I
Right? So it's more about like finding that resonant frequency, and then it's a win-win uh mechanism.
Right, right. I guess, one follow-up question, we are kind of getting close to the end. If anyone in the audience has anything they want to ask, it's a perfect time to drop that in the chat. Um, from the data that you've seen and what you've seen in your community so far, are there certain practices, modalities that kind of have risen to the top in terms of the impact they have? Like,
Yeah.
what is the highest ROI thing that our
Hmm.
audience could do, or some of the
Yes.
things that they could
Very
do
good.
that are
Yeah.
going to like shortcut them into higher states of consciousness?
The number one um thing that our customers are doing that has very obvious and beneficial returns
Yeah.
is meditation.
Mm.
And everyone can do that on their own. We even do group meditation sometimes online.
Right.
And, just even 20 minutes, people then take a recording, a snapshot on
Right.
the app, and they just send it in. Like, look, see, like anyone can do it. You
Right.
know, and if not silent meditation, sometimes we'll do like a gratitude or appreciation meditation, a live, like where you're a guided meditation. Or I go for a sauna. I even have a sauna at home and a cold plunge. If I just
Yeah.
do that, kaboom,
Yeah.
metrics. You just got to get anything you can do to get your heart rate to drop fast.
Mm.
And quieting your mind can cause that to happen. Going into a cold plunge can do it. Listening to music.
Yeah,
Listening music is a very fast way to get measurable results. Just
right.
going for a walk, daydreaming, focusing on releasing. We have one customer who's really good at releasing her emotions,
Yeah,
and she can see huge results. We had another one who was taking depression medication and
right.
actually noticed that she forgot one night, and then all of a sudden she had like a higher connection improvement. Like, see, I knew that wasn't really helping me. Um, but yeah, we figured this out by our advanced meditators. With our advanced meditators, we're actually able to see a form of just free energy flowing in. Um, One of our top customers, he's turning 71 this year, and but his Garmin fitness age is, I think, 57 and a half. Like, his
Yeah,
age measurably went down
yeah,
10 years by his meditation practice. And so we have old science validating the benefits as well, that it's anti-aging.
mm,
But all this data, I want to say real quickly,
yeah,
Max, it's very private to you,
yeah.
and it will always be that way.
Okay,
One of the biggest fears out there, especially in, like peak athletes,
right,
is that their data might be leaked.
right.
Well, that'll never happen on our watch.
Mhm.
We're not gonna
Or on your
monetize.
ring, on your ring.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we're not monetizing anyone's data, and we never will.
yeah, yeah. I think it's really beautiful that, you know, this new layer that of visibility, that you're bringing, everything from food and sleep and
Mhm.
exercise, relationships, content, like you're basically able to track the human experience through all of these different interactions with the environments,
Mhm.
and then be able to really personalize a program to the individual based on their
Mhm.
DNA, based on their conditioning, whatever they're coming to this product with. There's a way that you can help them on their
Yeah,
specific path. I think it's really beautiful.
yeah. The thing that people will realize is it is an up-leveling of yourself to even go above what you think are the conditions. Because true empowerment and freedom happens when you're no longer trying to control or change even the conditions of your environment or the people around you. And the more centered you become, and truly grounded like a rod,
Yeah,
with your
like a
divine
tree.
connection, the more you're not impacted, by the chaos around you. It actually starts to cohere even the conditions. You
Right.
then you become aware that you're creating everything, whether you like it or not.
Well, I think, to close, I'll quote a friend that I had lunch with last week, whose name translates to heart. His name is Lev.
Nice.
And he said he's met people in Malibu with $100 million mansions who are prisoners of their
Yeah.
own minds.
Yep.
And he's met actual prisoners who will
Yep.
never touch a woman for the rest of their lives, who are completely free.
Yep.
And so it's just a beautiful,
Hmm.
way to think about freedom.
Hmm.
It's really not the environment, but the environment.
Yep.
Again, I'm quoting him,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
it really, left an imprint, just kind of that framing that
Yep.
someone in the $100 million Malibu mansion
Oh
is
yeah.
more in prison than someone who
Yeah.
has a lifetime sentence in jail, right? So
Right.
again,
Yep.
it comes back to what's happening inside you, and
Yep.
I'm really grateful for our conversation and to all that tuned in. And we will, have this on our YouTube channel in perpetuity until they censor us. Just kidding. But thanks again, Susan. Really appreciate your time and looking forward to
Thank you,
seeing
Max.
you on the
Yeah,
playa.
thank you. Yeah, and if you're coming to Burning Man, look for the mothership.
We will, we will. Are there any markings on the mothership
Yeah,
that
we'll
will?
have a banner without logos that says
Cool.
free drinks inside the mothership.
Amazing.
And
All right, well, we'll see you on the mothership.
okay, see ya.
Thanks again.